Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! First off, my life took a crazy turn when I had an unexpected encounter with none other than our very own office queen bee Karen. I was at my desk one day sipping on my coffee when suddenly my stomach decides to launch a revolt of its own. I mean, we're talking rumbling, grumbling, and all around discomfort. I start sweating bullets in my face, probably with beetroot. This is no ordinary tummy ache. I shoot a glance towards Karen's office, debating whether I should interrupt her oh so important conference call. I gather my courage and make my way there, trying to walk as if nothing is wrong. Hey Karen, I'm really not feeling well. You think I could leave early or maybe call for an ambulance? She looks at me like I just asked her to solve world hunger. Oh come on, you can't be serious. We have that big presentation later and you want to leave early? Just suck it up and get back to work. My stomach crumbles again, this time more violently, and I cringe. Karen, I am really not exaggerating here. I think I might need immediate medical attention. Karen lets out a sigh and rolls her eyes. You're always making a big deal out of nothing. Fine. If it'll get you to stop bothering me, call an ambulance. But you better not be faking it. With that, I turn and hurry back to my desk. I call for help, explaining my situation as clearly as possible between waves of discomfort. They assure me an ambulance is on the way, and I try to find a bit of relief in that. But then Karen's voice pierces through the office, loud enough for everyone to hear. Seriously, an ambulance? I hope you're not planning to bill it to the company. We have budgets to consider, you know? I couldn't believe my ears. Was she seriously more worried about the company's budget than my health? I mean, yeah, she's entitled, but this was on another level. My coworkers start exchanging awkward looks, and I just wish the ground would swallow me up. Finally, the ambulance arrives, complete with the blaring sirens and flashing lights. I am whisked away on a stretcher, feeling more embarrassed than ever. I look back at the office building where Karen stands, arms crossed, looking absolutely unimpressed. Like, come on Karen, could you at least pretend to care? At the hospital I go through a series of tests, and it turns out I've got a nasty case of appendicitis. The doctor is quick to inform me that I need surgery, like yesterday. So they wheel me into the operating room, and I'm out like a light. Fast forward a few hours and I wake up in a hospital room groggy and sore, but relieved that the pesky appendix is finally gone. My family and friends are there, but then the nurse comes in and hands me my phone. I check my phone and find a voicemail from my boss, and I decide to listen to it. Hey there, heard you have your appendix removed. Pretty dramatic way to get out of the presentation, huh? Anyway, since you'll have some downtime, could you work on the presentation slides? We need them by tomorrow morning. Thanks. I stare at my phone in disbelief. Did she really just ask me to work on a presentation while I'm lying in a hospital bed, recovering from surgery? You okay? My sister asks. Yeah, just Karen being Karen, I guess. I reply. After that crazy hospital ordeal with Karen, I decided enough was enough. It was time to take matters into my own hands and bring the higher-ups into the loop. So I hatched a plan, one that involved sending an email to none other than the CEO of the company. I mean, come on, if anyone needed to know about the toxic behavior going on in their office, it was the big boss. I drafted an email, keeping it polite but not holding back on the details. I explained the entire incident with Karen, from her refusal to call an ambulance to her audacious request for me to work on a presentation post-surgery. I attached screenshots for her texts and that lovely voicemail too, just to make sure the CEO got the full picture. The subject line was simple: concerns about managerial behavior, and off it went. A couple of days later, I am back at my desk trying to focus on work when I get an email notification. It's from the CEO's office. My heart started racing as I click it open, and there is no turning back now. The email thanked me for bringing the matter to their attention and requested a meeting. I walk into the CEO's office kinda nervous. There is Karen sitting across a fancy desk looking as though she's been caught in a storm. The CEO says, "Thank you for coming in. I've read your email and reviewed the attached messages. I have to say I'm quite disappointed in the behavior described here. The CEO turns his attention towards Karen, who's suddenly looking anywhere but directly at him. Karen, care to explain yourself? She stammers. I didn't mean for it to come across that way. I was just under a lot of pressure with the presentation, and I didn't want the team to be disrupted. He tells her, pressure doesn't excuse treating your colleagues poorly, Karen. The way you handled the situation was unacceptable. Your behavior reflects poorly on the company, and I'm disappointed in your lack of empathy. Karen's face reddens, and she starts fidgeting with a pen. She can't seem to meet the CEO's gaze, and her attempts to justify her actions fall flat. Then he strikes. Effective immediately, you will be relieved of your managerial position. You'll be moved to a different department, and your new role will not involve any supervisory responsibilities. Karen mumbles something that might be an apology, and I watch as she leaves the CEO's office, her head hanging low. The CEO then emphasizes that I should always feel comfortable speaking up if I encounter any further issues in the workplace. I nod, then walk out of his office after thanking him profusely. Turns out sometimes entitled bosses do get a reality check. Just remember to always speak up. Note: there was a slightly longer version of this that Reddit ate about why I'm interacting with this person. Long story short, in the US, you have border patrol checkpoints dozens of miles from the border. In one case, in New Mexico, there is a border control checkpoint some 50 miles from the border on a military base, and the absolute most barren desert ever on a bombing range. No one sneaking around there, guys. Go home. I had to deal with these a lot when I drove around the Southwest for work. I finally had enough and decided to be as precise in my answers as humanly possible. I sought to disrupt through compliance. The scene. Waiting in line, I turned my cell phone video camera on to record what was to come next. I was 6-ish hours into a 9-hour drive at the start of a long week of work. I was driving a standard contractor work van with all my gear and so forth in it. I was about the third vehicle in line for a border patrol checkpoint near Alamogordo, New Mexico. Officer says, U.S. citizen? I'm sorry. Are you a U.S. citizen? Yes, I was born a U.S. citizen in my hometown. Okay, is there anyone in the vehicle with you? Not that I know of. Not that you know of? Well, I mean, there wasn't this morning when I loaded stuff up, but I haven't looked since then. Where are you coming from? Oh, I am coming from Phoenix, Arizona. I work for Continued Trail of Unnecessary Information. Have you stopped since Phoenix? Yes. Where and why? Well, I stopped in Tucson for breakfast because there is this great taco place with great green sauce. If you like breakfast tacos, anywhere else, he cuts me off. Well, I stopped for gas in Las Cruces. They usually have better gas prices than Arizona, and my boss really likes when he cuts me off again. And you don't look in the back of the van either of these times? Well, no. Why would I? Do you look in your trunk when you stop to take a leak? Reader note, at this point, what is typically a 5-second interaction, where they look for suspicious vehicles, i.e. brown people, has taken upwards of 3 minutes. It's a 1-lane checkpoint, and I'm blocking all traffic. He says with utter hatred in his eyes, do you mind if I look in the back of your vehicle? Well, it's not my vehicle. It's not your vehicle? Nope, it's my boss's. I mean, really, it's the company's property. My boss is great to work for. He used to, but he cuts me off again. May I look in the back of this vehicle? I am not sure I'm comfortable making that decision for my boss. I can call him if you want, but it's his vehicle really. No, so I can't look in the back of this vehicle? I mean, I wish. I just can't make that decision for someone else's property. Stay here then, he said as he turned around and started talking on his radio. Sure thing. Where would I go? I'm just trying to help here. At this point, another officer with a drug dog comes over, and the handler makes a loop around my van. I may have slightly rolled onto the accelerator with the van in park. This was in like August. It was hot out. They obviously find nothing. I ask, what's the dog for? Well, the dog is sniffing for drugs. Why would there be drugs in my van? You should leave now. So I'm free to go? Yes. Oh, great. Thanks for all the hard work and remember to stay hydrated. As I drove off, I could see him just shaking his head. It was immensely entertaining. In my mirror, I could see quite a long line of cars that had accumulated behind me. A few weeks ago, I was driving in my neighborhood playing Pokemon Go. Not while driving, obviously. At the end of my neighborhood has a Pokestop that I collect items from every day, as you get bonus items if you collect from stops every day. This particular day was my 7th day, meaning that I would get even more items. I would start over from day 1 the next day. I drove to the stop, got the items, set my phone on my passenger seat, and went home. The road I was driving on was 20 miles per hour, but I was going about 12 to 13 miles per hour. I drive up a small hill and turn a corner when a wild family appears, including the a-hole dad. The wife, her friend, and the 3 kids walking by them stepped off to the side of the road to let me pass. But as I was going by, the a-hole dad, who had a young boy about 3 to 4 years old in one arm and holding a Budweiser bottle in the other, important for later, actually stepped closer to my car and yelled something at me. As I had gotten into an accident recently, I was trying to be as safe as possible. I stopped the car, rolled down my window, and asked if he was alright. The conversation went as follows. Are you guys alright? Why did you do that? You see my family, right? Yeah, what about them? Well, you know you were driving too fast for this neighborhood, right? I should point out that I live in Illinois, and while my car was being repaired from the accident, I had a loaner car with Wisconsin plates. Sir, I was going only about 12 miles per hour, and the limit here is 20. I wasn't driving too fast. Well, you almost hit me and my son. Yeah, because you stepped close to a moving vehicle. The only one putting you guys in danger was yourself. The a-hole dad looks at my phone in the passenger seat. I don't know the laws of Wisconsin, but here in Illinois, you can be on your phone while driving. I am calling the police. Well, I don't know their laws either, buddy. This car is just a loaner. I live here in Illinois. Then you should know the laws. I am calling the cops. Well, have fun with that. How was that I just left? I know I probably should have stayed, but since I didn't actually do anything wrong, I wasn't taking this threat seriously. I went home and made some ramen to eat. As I was sitting in my dining room, I looked out the window and nearly choked on my noodles. The a-hole dad followed me home. He was on his cell phone with a dispatcher, and I thought I was screwed. About 5 minutes later, there were 2 cop cars with 3 police officers. I stepped outside thinking I was done for. The officers started to question the 2 of us. Opie, do you know why we are here? Well, I have a pretty good idea what you think you're doing here, but why don't you let me know? This gentleman called us saying you attempted to run his family over after you got caught texting while driving and going way over the speed limit. My mind went blank for a few seconds. This jerk actually said that I had attempted vehicular manslaughter. My mind started working again and I said, Sir, that couldn't be farther from the truth. I was driving home from playing Pokemon Go on my phone when this man stepped close to my car while I was driving. My phone was in the passenger seat the entire ride home. He's lying. He nearly killed my family. Arrest him now. Sir, calm down. We will settle this. Opie, what was this man doing when the incident occurred? Suddenly, an idea popped into my head, and right there on the fly, the revenge started. He was walking with his family along the side of the road, carrying a young boy on one arm and holding a beer bottle in the other. That's not true, you piece of garbage. Sir, control yourself. I continue. As I drove by them, the rest of his family went to the side of the road, but he actually stepped closer to my car. I think he got within an inch of me. This is nonsense. He's just trying to protect himself. Sir, if what he's saying is true, he could actually be arrested here. Not him. The other officer asks me, are you sure that's what happened? Positive. He got way too close to my moving vehicle, holding a child and a bottle of Miller Lite. It wasn't Miller Lite, it was Budweiser. He cut himself off and tried to get back on track, but it was too late. All the officers looked at him. He tried to defend himself, but then the 3rd police officer said something I thought I would never hear a cop say in my life. Sir, have you had anything to drink this evening? The a-hole dad, now very less confident, no. They moved him to one of the cop cars and gave him a breathalyzer test. 0.12%, just over the limit. Gotcha, a-hole. That jerk ended up confessing to them that I was right, was arrested for public intoxication and child endangerment. He has to go before a judge to determine if he's a danger to his family. The officers asked if I wanted to press any charges, but I told him no, since he already had enough on his plate to deal with. If I ever hear any updates about this guy, I'll sure let you know. Edit. I'm about to appear in court to dispute the traffic ticket I received for my accident. As I mentioned in the story, it'll be the third time in a year I appear in a courtroom, and I really didn't want to go back if I didn't have to, which is a big reason why I didn't press charges. I might have to go and be a witness if his case progresses enough though. My neighborhood is a very small private neighborhood. It used to be all summer houses long before I was born. You could go for a walk for about 90 minutes and walk everywhere in my neighborhood. From my house to where the incident occurred was a 2 to 3 minute walk, so the guy most likely followed me as soon as I drove away. And I didn't notice because, well, I just wanted to get away from him. So yeah, for the time being, that's about it. Okay, so the offense happened when I was in the 5th grade about 4 years ago, and my revenge happened in the 8th grade just about 1 year ago. So I was in the 5th grade almost at the end of the year. I was bummed because I had finished all my subjects with 100%, no points lost at all, which also meant I was at the top of my grade. Also, I got 242 on my mathematics MAP test. For those who don't know, MAP is measurement of academic progress. It really doesn't do anything, teachers just use it to know how much one knows. And in the program we used for our MAP testing, 242 was a really high score in elementary. What's expected of a 5th grade genius is in the 230s range. This is important later. So I was just minding my own business going back to class after break when this 5th grade teacher intercepted me. Now, you need to understand that we had 4 classes. Like most schools with an A, B, C, D system. I was lucky and got 5B, which has the coolest teacher. He genuinely loved teaching. 5A, however, was unfortunate. He treated his students like his trophies, taking credit to their high grades, but as I've heard from my friends over there, he barely taught. He would come to school strolling and super late, shouts at students for no apparent reason, and just sits there at his desk while the good kids who actually cared worked and the others just sat there. If anyone made a peep, detention and a disciplinary referral. Those things, if the offense was serious enough, could ban you from entering any college. He even threatened some poor kid who did nothing wrong was putting a disciplinary referral in for drug possession. What the duck? He wanted to accuse a 10-year-old with a drug possession? But that's not our story. Anyways, that jerk never really liked me. I think it was because I had such high marks and he couldn't credit himself to them. So anyways, back to the story where I bumped into him. Sorry sir, I mumbled, and then just scooted past him. After that, for some obscure reason, he became pissed off. Come back, he shouted. Me, being dumb and scared, stupidly came back. He told me to enter his class, which was full with his students. He then started to shout at me about being disrespectful, and he was so mad that I was shaking in my size 3 shoes. What he said after was what really stuck in me. You know what? In South Africa, I'm in my legal right to hurt you with my knife. He then proceeded to get a knife out of the top drawer and put it against my skin, breaking it a little. We weren't in South Africa, we were in Saudi Arabia, but he was from South Africa. He then pointed at another kid and shouted, "Look at this kid. He got 236 at his map testing. That means he's a goddamn genius. Try to get higher than him, smart A. You think you're so smart, huh? You're just a spoiled brat." 5A took the test before 5B, so I didn't set the record of 242 yet. After that, I took the map test and he proctored us. He kept smirking at me, kicking my seat and so on, until I finished the test and got 242. Then I looked him in the eye and said, "Looks like I'm a damn genius too." But that wasn't revenge. You see, I thought it was some hazing ritual to see if I was tough enough for middle school. I know, stupid, but remember I was 9 years old at the time. Fast forward 3 years to 8th grade, I did not speak of this to anybody, and the kids who were there were too scared to speak up. Anyways, I chose to tell my best friend. He was horrified and told me to report him immediately. I realized what he did traumatized me. I was constantly afraid that any adult had a knife up his sleeve and was about to start shouting at me. So I set out for revenge. I was not just going to report him, which would get him fired. I went to everybody at back class documenting all the horrible things he did. With over 30 kids saying the same thing, with a model student vouching for them, the principal had no choice but to comply. And he knew the constant trust issues I was having. So he fired him and assured me that he was banned from any teaching position in the country. Edit. Since some people are asking me what exactly did I document, I documented everything. First thing I did was go to the other kids and they provided quotes of his threats. I gave the quotes of his threat to me. He also apparently threatened to sheath a knife on them, but he never did except towards me. He also hit them, and by the grace of God, they happened to take pictures and WhatsApp them to each other to see who endured the most pain as some kind of sick competition. I put him in a Word document, one glorious masterpiece. I also mentioned the disciplinary referral of drug possession that he gave to that kid. The file was about 1 gigabyte.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.